this is my philosophy on bullying. First things first, bullying is always going to be around, no matter how many pink shirts or blue shirts you're going to wear, and how many anti-bullying campaigns there might be, or how much you would want to talk to the parents of the children that are doing the bullying. I mean, bullying is always going to be around, and martial arts is created because of bullying. So, I mean, our philosophy as martial artists is that you have to defend yourself, and you have to stand up for yourself right away. When someone, what I tell my kids is that if someone's bullying you verbally have to stand up for yourself. You have to look them in the eyes and tell them, stop, don't touch me, leave me alone. And we tell them that you're going to have to warn a bully every day, 10 times a day if need be, 100 times a day. But the second that they put their hands on you, then the line has been crossed. And that's when you physically have to defend yourself. We tell them, put your hands up, and tell them, don't touch me again, or I'll touch you back. And you're not going to like the way I touch you. We tell them to take their stance, look them in the eyes, and own that ground that they're standing on. Because that's what we're trying to teach them, is to stand up for themselves and to stand their ground physically. So, I mean, teaching our kids this is important, it's invaluable. The school will tell you, oh, well, you should tell the teacher, and then the teacher will discipline the kids. Well, that might help for a little bit, but the reality is that if I don't, as a child, if that child doesn't learn how to deal with the problem themselves, then they're going to try to find someone else to handle that issue for them. Well, when you get older, there's no one to run to. There's no one to go and tell anymore. You have to physically take care of this issue on your own, either verbally or physically. So, I mean, giving the kids the tools to stand up for themselves is invaluable. I mean, teaching them to be themselves is important, and that's what martial arts gives us. You train hard, you build up this inner confidence, and overcoming the little challenges in their minds when they're training, and they start to believe in themselves. They start to believe that, yeah, they can do it, they have value. What they say has value, so they start to carry that with themselves, in their everyday life. They're in school and they raise up their hand and they're not afraid to speak anymore. They make friends easier. And because they're comfortable with themselves, they, other kids, find that attractive, and they want to be around that. And when they do get challenged, it's not a big deal for them to try and stand up against that challenge and say, oh, well, you have a problem. No, they don't. They pick their battles. They don't need to prove themselves outside of the gym, because they prove themselves on the mat every day. They spar, they do jiu-jitsu, they face these little stresses every day, so that when something happens in the schoolyard, they don't really need to deal with it. But I mean, if they have to, they can, and they can stand up for themselves verbally and physically. I mean, you carry this throughout your whole life. I mean, as you become an adolescent, it becomes even more important. And peer pressure starts to come along, and you might get pulled into, the wrong crowd or the wrong decisions. And when you're comfortable with who you are, that doesn't become that much of an issue anymore, because you're okay with being yourself. And that is attractive to other kids. They want to be themselves as well around you. And when you're an adult and it comes time to compete for a job, or compete for a house, or compete for a mate, you as a martial artist already have, you're comfortable with competition. You're okay with competing. This doesn't become an issue. You don't feel the fear, as where other people will walk away from the fear. You will stand up and embrace the fear and take that challenge on. For kids to understand how to express themselves verbally and express themselves physically, to protect themselves is invaluable. And that's what I teach, and I love seeing it in kids. I get to see it in kids every day, where they meet challenges and their faces light up, or they come to school or they come to class and say, today I got an anti-bullying story where I had to stand up against a kid today because his friend was picking on him, and I said, hey, that's not right, and he hit me, and I kind of said, don't hit me again. He hit me again, and I had to stand up for myself, and I proved myself, and I got in trouble at school because I stood up for myself. But he knows that because he stood up for himself, that he'll take, the punishment at the school for having to get physical. But he knows that the next day, the kids know that he will stand up for themselves and they won't pick on him anymore. And that's the underlying value of being who you are and of being a martial artist is that people know that you are going to stand up for yourself if something happens to you. So it's important for kids to start training in martial arts at an early age so that they get comfortable with who they are.